Good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. On September 26th, that's just 2 weeks from next Tuesday, Boston voters will go to the polls in a preliminary election, and they'll narrow the field of 4 mayoral candidates down to 2. Well, in recent weeks, we've had an opportunity to talk with a couple of those candidates, Robert Capucci and Joseph Wiley. Today, we're pleased to be joined by a third candidate, Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson of Grove Hall. Since 2011, the District 7 councilor representing Roxbury, parts of Dorchester, the Fenway, and the South End. Councilor, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you here. We appreciate it. Now, elections involving an incumbent are always, at least in part, a referendum on that incumbent's performance.
Yep.
So, to get started here, could you please pick one important area where you think Marty Walsh has fallen short in his term and explain how you're going to do better?
We've been sold a bill of goods. We thought Mayor Walsh was going to step forward and do what he said he was going to do with the Boston Planning and Development Authority, which was the BRA, until he spent $600,000 to make it the BPDA. And he said that he was going to look out for working families around housing. In his administration, all we're building is luxury housing, people getting pushed out of the city of Boston. And at the same time, we're seeing corporate welfare being spewed throughout the city of Boston. $25 million is going to General Electric. All of these things are happening while young people are suffering in our schools because they're getting cut by $11 million and 49 public schools getting cut. We've been sold a bill of goods. As mayor of the city of Boston, I will lead on affordability of housing, making sure that we take care of working families in Boston, as well as making sure that the school system is not about winners and losers. It has to be about every single young person winning the lottery every single day and making sure that we prepare for the future and the workforce of tomorrow.
Let me follow up on your comment about GE, the GE deal to bring their corporate headquarters to the seaport. You were very critical of that deal and continue to be. Why? Well, don't you have to spend money to make money?
Well, we're spending taxpayer dollars, and this mayor has had his checkbook out for corporate welfare across the board, $25 million for General Electric. The Olympics, which is, I was the city councilor who stepped forward and asked for one thing that we're missing, which was called the budget. He also signed us up for this race car, this race called IndyCar. All of those things hurt the economic well-being of the city of Boston. There are people still to this day who don't even have their money back from IndyCar. We need to have a mayor who's going to look at neighborhoods, look at communities, and look at real people who are struggling to be here in the city of Boston. But I'm winning already. And I'm winning because Mayor Walsh last week said he now supports marijuana legalization. He didn't support it before. He signed on to question 2. He now is supporting a $15 an hour minimum wage, which I put forward just this past Monday, and now he is on board. So we're winning, and we're pushing forward towards a progressive city of Boston that's a city for all, not just some.
Well, now Amazon, the big tech giant, is saying it wants to hear from cities who'd like to host their new corporate headquarters. Yeah. $5 billion in investment. They're promising tens of thousands of new, well-paying jobs. Yeah. Should the city aggressively pursue this?
What the city of Boston should do is what I did when I worked for Governor Patrick as working around economic development. We should actually be measured. We should be thoughtful and see if this actually fits us. They're looking for 8 million square feet. That's the whole seaport. And also we should look at it, cities like Seattle, where Amazon actually is right now, and the displacement that they're seeing and how much is pushing up housing costs. So we need to understand our job is to make sure that we're dealing with and helping the folks who live in the city of Boston do better, stay here in the city, and dealing with their issues, not only to go after deals like the Amazon deal.
Well, we have to take a break, but Mayor Walsh yesterday, commenting on this Amazon HQ, said we're not going to get into a bidding war with another city for something like this. I think it has to be, is Boston the right fit for Amazon, and is Amazon the right fit for Boston? You almost sound like him.
Well, you know, actually, he sounds like me. He feels my breath on the back of his neck, and I might have whispered that in his ear. He has been following my lead, and I will lead and not follow, and I look forward to being mayor of the city of Boston.
Hot breath on his neck. That's an interesting image. Thanks, Councilor. We'll continue our conversation with Councilor and Boston mayoral candidate Tito Jackson in just a moment, so please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking with Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson, a candidate for mayor of Boston in this fall's elections. And, Councilor, on your website, you call for a lot of spending on a lot of things. Additional education spending, housing, health care, job training, capping gas leaks, supporting the arts, and so on. Where are you going to get all this money?
Well, so first off, I consider education an investment, because if you don't, it's a pay now or pay later. Because understand, it costs $20,000 to educate a young person in Boston, but it costs $54,000 to incarcerate somebody. So we want to make sure that we give our young people the skill sets that they need of tomorrow. Mayor Walsh is cutting $11 million out of 49 schools, including $450,000 out of our only vocational technical school called Madison. What am I going to do to get those funds? What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to abolish the Boston Planning and Development Agency. Mayor Walsh promised that he would do that. I'm actually going to keep my promise.
So that'll give you about $5 million to play with?
50
million to play with?
million on an annual basis.
Okay.
I also come from a business background, and I look forward to partnering with the private sector to make sure that we are working together to ensure that the city of Boston works for everybody and not just some people in the city of Boston. And there are areas that we need to look at in savings, and I will do a bottom-up look. And I have had a private sector career and know how to read balance sheets. Not everyone in government does.
How about tax revenue? Are you open to overriding Prop 2.5? Well,
I believe at this point, when we look at the city of Boston, we had a 4.8% increase this past year, $144 million in new revenue. The problem is Mayor Walsh and his administration aren't allocating that revenue to the areas that we actually need. I don't believe that we need a Proposition 2.5 override currently. I believe that we need to take the money that the city has been given and invest in homeless folks. Mayor Walsh closed down the Long Island Bridge and left people who are in recovery as well as those who are homeless high and dry in our city of Boston. Yet he still gave money to a bridge and was going to give money to GE for a helipad. We have to make sure that our budget is in alignment with our values. In my administration, you will see responsible spending. You're not going to see Olympics. You're not going to see IndyCar. What you're going to see is the uplift of affordable housing for folks. You're going to see the uplift of families, and also we're going to deal with the 30% increase that we have in shootings in the city of Boston because we are leaving neighborhoods and communities behind with the trauma that they're in.
Obviously, in this limited time, we can only touch on the surface on some of these issues.
You should host the debate.
Well,
I believe, and I want to categorically state that I believe that you should host the debate, and I think you would be a great moderator.
We will see what we can do about that. And in the meantime, if people want to learn more about you and your candidacy, where can they go to get that?
You should go to TitoJacksonForMayor.com. You can find out all of the information about my campaign there. You should also come to our campaign office, 74 Warren Street. We are open. We are open on a regular basis, but we're running a grassroots campaign. I don't have the millions of dollars that are connected. I have the best vision and the best voice for the future of the city of Boston. And I look forward on Tuesday, September 26th, to getting your vote and to be able to move on to November 7th so we can have a Boston for all.
Councilor, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing you. That's Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson, candidate for mayor of Boston. That's my time now. It's back over to my colleagues for more WBZ News.